Hey, what's up, guys? I'm recording this in the waning moments of the day-to-day because as I sat throughout the day, I realized that you can't really plan these types of things very well. You have to be sort of impulsive and sort of in the moment when you're recording them, because I couldn't really ever find like oh, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that today and I need to record, because I was just kind of at home hanging out doing nothing. So I missed sort of a lot of bespoke moments within the day where I could have done something that may have been cool or funny or whatever, but just didn't have time to. So today, what I like to do instead is a little game review. I just played a game and beat it last night, and I think maybe as I play games throughout the year, some of these vlogs can have these game review segments in them. I won't claim to be any sort of expert on the subject matter insofar as anything other than having played a lot of games and tried my hand at amateurly designing some, which actually is of importance to this one. So the game that I'm talking about today is called In Between. It's a game that deals with death, interestingly enough, to start off the year. And it plays and has the narrative structure of almost, I've seen it compared a lot to Braid, but I think it's a little bit more personable than Braid, whereas Braid is sort of a fantasy world in the framework of realism. This really cuts to the chase and is very much about a singular person's life and sort of dealing with the stages of grief. What made it really pretty interesting to me, specifically and personally, is that it mirrored a lot of what I had done in a game that I made during a game jam years ago, and it did it so much better than I did it. Within the constraints that I placed upon myself. And it was just strange how from the looping mechanic to, spoilers ahead for this part, how you exited the looping mechanic by killing yourself, how you used both of the joysticks at one point to control different aspects of the game, and I just thought that that was really odd, that dealing with similar subject matter in terms of death of a loved one and sort of the story there, how saying, okay, I'm going to make a puzzle platformer, how there were certain constructs within that were tackled similarly, and really then in playing it, realizing a lot of the issues that my game had, and realizing a lot of the missteps that I had taken. Some I had already sort of realized, but then in playing a game that was so similar, being able to see those was really interesting, and really just it added another layer to an already very good experience with the game. And it definitely informed some of the decisions we had made narratively, in terms of sort of retro informing them in my brain and saying, like, yeah, that does make sense, that doesn't make sense. For instance, in a puzzle platformer, and being how quickly and how often you die, you're trying to tell a story, but you as the player are also trying levels over and over and over. So when you're using the levels as a narrative device to, say, talk about depression, because you so there's depression levels where when you get into the darkness, it doesn't actually kill you. There's not the shatter of you dying. You actually just stop and the whole game goes black. That makes sense from a narrative conceit. The darkness is consuming you. You don't actually die. You just stop existing, essentially, and the level restarts. But as a player, when you're trying to progress through the level, as you get more and more complex with your mechanics, then if that's happening over and over and over again, it sort of destroys the narrative flow. Similarly, and again, spoilers, at the end, when you I have to, when you're in the thing called acceptance and you're looping through the levels, the only way out is to impale yourself on spikes, which to me doesn't speak to accepting your death, because you as a player are choosing to die. To me, that speaks more to killing yourself, is the way that I interpreted it. And I feel like it would have been more apropos to have you loop through the levels, and then instead of having you kill yourself, basically you stand still, to say to the player, you know, as you're going through those levels, you're still fighting, because the whole game is, each level is you trying to navigate against your sickness. So if, as you're cycling through these levels, which are all very easy and quick to finish, then you need to, essentially you're saying, you know, quit trying. You know, death is inevitable for this character. Death is inevitable. You have to accept it. So by placing the controller down, waiting like 5 seconds, it seems to me like that would have conveyed the tone a little bit better. Of course, there's no way to necessarily convey that to the player, because even I went through all the levels, went back through, saw the spikes, and was like, am I supposed to kill myself here? Like, am I supposed to die on those? Went back through the levels again, got back through my second rotation, was like, oh, of course I'm supposed to hit myself on these spikes. But again, I just feel like it was weirdly out of place in terms of the tone of the game overall. That being said, love the game. I was done with it in probably 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours maybe. Some of the puzzles were a little contrived in terms of they needed almost pixel perfect placement in a game which the controls are not pixel perfect. My biggest complaint was not being able to move while you're in the air or change direction. But again, that was probably a cognizant design choice to sort of constrict the play area and not make too many levels kind of easier by design. But overall, no, I thought it was a great game. It was a great experience. And I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys that style of game. I am going to show right now the achievements for In Between that I got. I completely finished the game. So first finished game of 2017, and that'll also count for my achievements for the day. But I'm going to try, and I just realized I can use the Xbox Record feature and get those synced up to my OneDrive. So I should be able to, anytime I get an achievement, I should be able to record the last 30 seconds of gameplay and hopefully show it in the video from now on. But other than that, like I said, tomorrow's my first day back at work. And it's going to be a long day because I got to make up some hours from not being at work on Monday. My birthday party is actually going to be this weekend, and I'm going to try and set up a sort of live stream type thing. So that'll be pretty interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to get all that rocking and rolling. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.